All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us here at Pologeorgis today. My name is Sonya Keshwani. I'm the founder of StyleEsteem, and I'm so excited to be here because we're celebrating the launch of our collaboration, of our special collection that you can even see already in front of us, and of course, on my head as always. So I'm super excited to share this with you all today, and I want to give a special thanks to Tina for coming in today to help us launch this collection and also to share an interview with me. Yeah.
Thank you, Sonia. So
Cheers.
good to see you.
Thank you.
As always, you look beautiful, and this collection is stunning. I have to say, I've always loved your turbans, but the headpieces, the collaboration you've
Yeah.
now done with Polo Georgis is extra special. So make sure you check it out. Come down to the store, or I'm sure you can see on your Instagram as well some examples
Absolutely.
of your gorgeous pieces.
Absolutely. And they will be available very shortly online as well. So,
Perfect.
yeah,
All right, so I have a couple questions for you.
sure.
Thought we'd chit chat a little bit about fashion and breast cancer awareness and how it all came together for you. So, first of all, can you share with us your personal breast cancer journey and how it shaped your outlook on life and fashion?
Sure. So, I received a very unexpected breast cancer diagnosis at the young age of 29. I was living a totally different life back then. I was working in the media, I was working at the DOJ, at the Department of Justice. And so I was kind of at what I thought was the peak of my 20s and my career and just, living life in full force. And I one day was taking a shower and I felt something really different on my left breast. And I knew that that was not normal for me. And in this sort of vein of self advocacy and finding out, getting the answers as to what that was, I learned that I had an early stage breast cancer. And so that immediately slowed me down and forced me to really consider every way that I'm spending my moments in my life, to think about what's really important, and then also to realize that it's so this time is such a challenging time when you go through a breast cancer diagnosis at any age, much less when you're in your 20s, when you're not at all expecting such a thing. You kind of force yourself to think about what's your identity and how you see yourself and how also you want to share yourself with the world, and what does that mean to you. And so for me, when I went through breast cancer, losing my hair to chemotherapy was one of the greatest challenges of that experience, because it kind of took apart all the layers of who I thought I was, and turned me, as my mom likes to say, back into a newborn baby with a bald head and kind of starting life from scratch again. And the person that I sort of decided to put back together is who you see today. And it's equal parts of my past and my future and who I am in the present. And a big part of that now is the headpieces. And that's because when I went through that hair loss, I realized that I don't quite know what my identity is in this very moment. I don't know who exactly I am. I don't know who I'm going to be, but I want to start reconnecting with myself through fashion. And so that's kind of what I did. I started going to a fabric shop next to my infusion center in New York City. After each round of treatment, I just kind of gathered whatever strength I had and went fabric shopping. And I picked out a few yards here and there. And when I would, be in my week-long recovery, after each round of chemo, which lasted a year, by the way, I was just experimenting with my mom's sewing machine and kind of trying to create something that felt like it was made to inspire a person walking on my path. And that's how the turbans were born. And that's eventually what inspired StyleEsteem, is this idea that headpieces are like a crown that you wear, and you're crowning the royalty in you no matter what you're going through in life. You have that royal essence inside of you, no matter what your story is, no matter what your hair journey is, your background, your culture, anything you've been through. It's this idea that fashion is truly something that crowns the best parts of us.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations on all of everything that you've been through, your
Thank you.
journey, and first of all, you're very brave,
Thank
and
you.
it's a great story. It's a great, I know it's a part of you, not just a story, but a part of you. And what an amazing product came out of, this. I feel like you've sort of decided to take it head on and literally and
Literally. I love a good
but I
pun.
think a lot of people would, immediately I can't imagine the reaction you would have, but people think, okay, well, I'll have to wear a wig, I'm losing my hair.
Yeah.
And you, I feel like, I don't know what your thought process was, but
Mhm.
I love that you went to something in fashion and then
Yeah.
connected it back to something, because fashion is so, it's about the aesthetics, but this was
Sure.
about the function
Sure.
and bringing back your confidence. So, how did you feel when did you, was there a moment where you sort of said, this is it? Or was it
Mhm.
sort of a gradual process as you were creating the turbans and said, oh, I feel good? Or was it like you did it and you were like, this is helping me?
Sure. I think it's a little bit of both. I feel like when when I started to lose my hair, it was kind of like I was told, okay, you need to buy a wig and wait for it to happen. Your hair
Right.
will be falling out drastically by the next time we see you in the infusion chair. So just make sure you're prepared. And I wasn't given much beyond that, even though my doctors were amazing. The knowledge about hair loss and what to do during hair loss was a little bit limited. And so today, fast forward 5 years later at StyleEsteem, we talk a lot about fashion, but we also talk about how to thrive through hair loss before, during, and after treatment. Because I think there's so much room for empowerment in that journey that we don't necessarily realize. But as far as my own journey goes, I grew up in New York City. I always loved fashion. I mean, I've been window shopping on Fifth Avenue since I can remember, since probably I was able to walk. And so when I was looking for something to wear, I wanted to feel like more of myself, not like less of it. And
Right.
so I kind of saw there were a lot of designer pieces that were, on consignment because turbans hadn't really been in trend for a while. And then I saw a lot of chemo beanies, which didn't quite feel right to me. And I just wanted something that brought the two together, that made luxury and headwear part of your everyday life, something that was keeping up with the trends, but also being very timeless and accessible and something that you can kind of wear on your day to day. And so when I started to create these pieces and I could get ready in the morning and just get ready without a big emotional breakdown or a big fuss and just
Right.
kind of, what you see from my neck down, if I can just wear a headpiece that completes everything and makes me look very intentionally put together and
Right.
makes me walk out the door with pride in myself, that's what I wanted. And when I started seeing that, I was like, okay, this is clicking for me. And that's kind of what snowballed on and on from there.
But there was also the design process. I mean,
Yeah,
not anyone can just make a turban or make
sure.
a headpiece because these are crafted well and obviously made, thought out. I know you said you were experimenting, but
Yeah.
I mean, it certainly takes some talent to actually make one. And so I feel like it's not like throwing on a baseball hat.
No.
You know, these are pieces that are all handmade, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
And so is that sort of how it started? And then how did you get to the collab? Fast forward to today,
Yeah.
the collaboration with Polo Georgis.
Sure. So Um, when I say experimentation, it truly was an experimentation because I don't have a background in fashion. I'm a self-taught designer. And so, knowing that I have these periods of recovery ahead of me, week long, multiple times throughout the year, I just kind of thought of that as like my design time. I want to just make myself free of mind to sit there and play with different things and to see what works and to create something that is beautiful. And so that process is kind of once the turban was perfected out of like different silhouettes and different sort of patterns that I self created, that's kind of turned into what you see today within Style Esteem is a range of headwear that's really grown beyond the turban itself, even though that's kind of our original creation. Now we have beautiful pieces that, even if you look at our couture collection, are inspired by headwear throughout history and culture and trends. And it's a very sort of a global approach that's what it's turned into for us. But it all started with this this idea that you have to give yourself permission to experiment not with just creating something, but wearing different things to give yourself the freedom to see what feels right, what looks good, and what makes you happy. And I like to feel like that's translated into the designs. And I always encourage people, if you're a turbanista or it's your first time wearing a headpiece, just give yourself that freedom to really explore fashion and to find something that makes you smile.
And have fun with it too, like everything. I
Absolutely.
always say that
Yeah.
fashion is just lipstick and pantyhose, at the end of the
I
day.
love
So,
that.
okay, so what message do you hope to send women currently battling breast cancer through your designs?
Sure. I really want people to know that although what you're going through right now is so huge. It feels so life changing and so life impacting. I want you to know that you are more than that. You are more than your diagnosis. You are more than your hair. You're more than your breasts. You cannot be defined by any one single thing. And I think that's something that 6 years on for me as a 6 year breast cancer survivor, that's really what I've learned through that process. And what I remind myself every day is that I can't be defined by any one thing. I'm so much more than that. And so whether you're newly diagnosed or 10 years out, it's something that I think, is a really valuable thing to remind yourself about every day.
I agree.
Yeah.
Why is it so important to you to raise awareness about self breast exams, and how does the hashtag glam self exam movement fit into that mission?
Sure. So for me, the way I discovered my breast cancer was really accidental, or by chance, you can even say. I mean, I was doing something that I have done countless times in my life. I was taking a shower and just applying soap on my body, right? And I felt something that felt off. And so, if I hadn't felt the alarm bells go off, I may have ignored it. I may have kicked the can down the road, and my outcome would have been much different. And so, what I want to emphasize to people is that doing your monthly breast self exam is so important, because early detection is critical when it comes to breast cancer. And for me, now that I've sort of seen within my own life how important this, health ritual is, I've come up with the idea of a glam self exam, and that's because where I come from, sometimes, talking about breast health is a little bit taboo. But the last thing I want is for someone to feel like it's taboo, they can't talk about it, and they're kind of too scared to even face it in their own lives. And so, glam self exam is all about being your best self, dressing as your best self, embracing who you are, and embracing knowing about your breast health, and not being afraid to do so, and finding empowerment within finding out about your breast health. Because I think when you kind of cross that barrier of fear into action, that's when you realize, you're brave enough to face this, and you're brave enough to take charge of your health. And so that's what I want people to remember about breast self exams, because at the end of the day, breast cancer affects 1 in 8 women. And I think a lot of people may know that because it's a pretty catchy statistic. But what I think a lot of people don't know is that, only 5 to 10% of these diagnoses are hereditary. Mine was not hereditary, and I was the first in my family to get diagnosed with breast cancer. So it's just really important to stay on top of your health and to be proactive.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So, you would recommend the self exam as
Yeah.
well as getting your yearly checkup from your doctor? Yes.
Sure, yes. And I think, if you have a history of breast cancer in your family, you do need to consult with your doctor to see what's the earliest you can start to get your mammogram or other sort of scans that you may need. I know there are exceptions for those who have hereditary breast cancer, so definitely be aware of that. Insurance definitely has exceptions for those cases to get exams earlier, but something you can do very easily regularly within the comfort of your own home is your breast self exam or your glam self exam. And it takes just a minute to do it. And so I feel like maybe this is a good time to show everyone in our audience and all of you watching how to easily do your glam self exam at home. What do you
I
think?
love it. Let's do it.
Yeah?
Can you show us?
Yeah, why don't we stand up if
Okay.
that's okay? We can
Sure.
stand up right where we are. And I encourage everyone who's watching us, all of you beautiful people, to follow along. It's very easy. So the way we start off is we're going to raise our right hand overhead. We're going to take 3 fingers together like this from the opposite side. And what we're going to do is we're going to go in circular motions around the breast. You will go kind of on the outer circle of your breast, and then you can also go on the inner circle. So you get a good idea of just your entire breast. You can press firmly in to kind of be familiar with the texture of your breast, because especially with young women, we do have dense breasts. We do need to kind of understand that there are lumps and bumps and what those feel like. And then after you've done that, you can kind of go in the middle in the nipple area. And then from there, you want to kind of travel upward into the armpit right here. and kind of feel a little bit more with pressure in the armpit. Then once you've done this, you can put your arm down and you can feel along the collarbone right here. And you can feel along the side of your neck into your lymph area right by your ear, because this is also an important area to be aware of. And then once you've done it on this side, you want to do the same on the opposite side and just repeat that process. And that's something that you can do standing in front of the mirror at home with your blouse off, with no undergarments on, just so you can get a full and thorough exam. But this is something that I recommend you do once a month. You can do, on the first of the month, just have a little reminder on your phone, and that way you'll always be on top of it. And when you do feel something different, if you feel a different texture or you see some sort of texture on top of your skin, discoloration or any kind of discharge that feels unusual, just reach out to your doctor. Just get it examined, because you never know, if it is something or if it's nothing. But it's always good to be aware and to have your answers early on.
Thank you. Love that.
Thank you.
So I wanted to shift gears real quick and speak a little bit more about the collaboration with Pologeorgis.
Sure.
So what's the creative process like when merging your signature headpieces with the craftsmanship of luxury furs at Pologeorgis?
Yeah. One thing I will say is, as you can see, if you look at any one of our brands, we have such a distinctive imprint that we've left in the fashion space. And so to bring those two brands together, it was definitely a treat to do that. But I think what made it even more special is that for both of us, it was a first time experience. For us, it was the first time that we were working with these beautiful fur textiles. And then for Polo Georges, it was their first time creating a turban. And so to bring the things that are near and dear to our brand values and to our aesthetic, and to kind of combine them into something that is really a one of a kind creation and something that's so unique, was really a special process. And it's something that took quite some time. I mean, we thought of this idea quite a while ago, and it's been over a year since we've been working on it. And so it's really wonderful to be celebrating that today. And I'm so glad that we can share, the pieces physically in the store with everyone that's here.
Yeah, they're beautiful. I remember speaking with you in the early days of when you guys were doing this. And so it's really nice to see the final outcome. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
So in terms of aesthetics,
Mhm.
what do StyleEsteem and Pologeorgis share that's kind of made this a natural fit?
Yeah, I think something that both of our brands really value is this idea that fashion is it's about the art of dressing, really.
Right.
And when it comes to these pieces that are designed even for the colder months, that's something that we both kind of um, pay special attention to. Like, I know with StyleEsteem, I really wanted to create headpieces for the winter that have a presence, that are beyond just sort of the black uniform that we may see, and some that brings something a little bit special to the picture. And so when you have this availability of combining classic and timeless silhouettes like the turban with something that is such a treat to have in your wardrobe, like a beautiful mink or rabbit textile, I think that creates a piece that is really an investment in your wardrobe, something that you'll go to season after season and will always love to wear.
Great.
Yeah.
So what would you say, so someone that has never worn a turban before,
Mhm.
I haven't,
Yeah.
how would you suggest a woman would style this?
So the reason that I fell in love with turbans is because they are this elegant silhouette that keep coming back over the course of history, right? Like, they have been in trend over and over. They just look a little bit different each time. And so another great thing about turbans is that they're universally flattering on all face shapes and sizes. And so I would say just, find colors that speak to you, find textures that speak to you, and then just treat it like a crown and go from there. It's something that um, is a statement. And so if you want to make a statement, I would say you've come to the right place.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, be sure and check out your beautiful collection. Where can everyone find this?
So for now, you can come to Pologeorgis here in Greenwich, Connecticut,
On Lewis Street.
on Lewis Street to experience the pieces in person, and then we'll be letting all of our followers know once the pieces are available online, and you can shop them on pologeorgis.com or stylesteem.com.
StyleEsteem.com.
Yeah,
Thank you, Sonya, so much. And thank you, Paula Georgis, for having us.
thank you.